So, 5-year plan, preparing for transition. The 5-year plan is necessary at any age, but beyond the 2-year plan, this means that you can have a 2-year to 5-year plan. The 5-year plan may involve career planning from supervisor to manager, from manager to director, from any position to upper management. The 5-year plan may involve pursuing financial stability beyond the 2-year plan. And then the 5-year plan may involve investing more money into a retirement and or investment fund. It just depends. It depends on how much you're already paying out in expenses, right? But people don't get to upper management just by osmosis. They don't get there hoping and wishing. They plan their way up. They plan their way horizontally, and they plan their way vertically. The 5-year plan is necessary as a self-reflection tool. So you can reflect on the past 2 years to determine gaps in your understanding, gaps in your pay, and gaps in your education. You can reflect on that last 3 years to determine if your plan is still feasible. You can reflect on the last 5 years to determine the point at which the plan has been effective. And you can reflect on the last 5 years to determine your financial capacity for moving forward. So you're always in a mode of thinking about that. You had your 2-year plan, and then now you have the 5-year plan. But the 5-year plan is more about self-reflection. You going back and looking at your progress, your process, and your progress. And is that plan that you had during those 3 years between 2 and 5? Is that plan feasible going forward after 5 years, right? At what point is the plan effective, and then at what point the plan may not be effective, considering maybe a job loss. So the plan that you were adopting to save $6,000, right, for example, okay, and you were doing just fine and going very good, and then the company cut your hours. So that means your financial capacity has lessened in a sense, right? It's hard to move forward with the same goals you had with a new financial capacity. So now you're going to have to think about ways in which you're going to be able to still meet your emergency savings objective while you are enduring cut to your hours that might affect your shelter costs. So it depends on if you may have to wait out your investment plan and then seek out a new job, an additional job, or wait to the company increase your hours. So that's something that you have to reflect on. And then, of course, if you begin earning more money, then that means your financial capacity has increased. And then you can look at the fact, okay, I have been effective in saving X amount of dollars. I really want to get to this 6,000. So now that I'm making more money, I'm going to increase my financial capacity, actually speed it up, and begin to increase how much I put into the investment product. The 5-year plan determines if you will be able to sustain yourself financially. Given the fact that you have completed education and established multiple financial plans, this is the time to review your progress to date. This is also the time to determine where you want to take your mind, heart, and body, your career, and your finances. So that's why it's very important that if you're going to take chances in your career, you need to make sure that you have base finances. If you're going to take chances in your life and start a business, you still need to keep the job. I always thought that you needed to quit the job to be devoted to, starting a business, but that's not key. You still need cash flow, because if something goes wrong with the business, you still can pay your rent. You still can pay your car. You still can pay any of the other expenses to keep yourself afloat. The 5-year plan is useful for gaining insight into your health needs before you move into a 10-year plan that will require more energy, work ethic, and time. A visit to the doctor to get that 5-year checkup is important. Assessing your health and what you can muster by day, week, month is important because the next levels require more energy, time, and capacity. You must know your capacity to operate at multiple levels. Think about a person, this may not necessarily apply, but I want to give you a visual. So think about the person who wants to run and become sort of like a professional runner. Not necessarily go to the Olympics, but they run in all these, different 5K, 10K races, right? Well, there's a whole sort of body of self-help articles and information and content on the internet about how to run your first race, how to run your second, third, how to meet your running time, things like that, right? If you're just walking somewhere, a lot of times all you need is a good long stretch and maybe the types of food that will sustain that energy. It's a 5K, right? But if you're going to run a 10K, you are practicing running a 10K every day or 3 times a week or something like that, right? You don't run a 10K the very first day that race comes to town. You have practiced for at least a year or 2 years just to run that one 10K because it's going to require more energy, more work ethic, more time. You need to visit the doctor. You need to look at your capacity and how you can operate at multiple levels. So if you're running a 10K in your hometown, but but the obstacle course is not that difficult, right? You can run it. That's fine. But then you may want to run the Boston Marathon. Okay, that's not something that you can do just on the first try. Those people train to do that. They live in the gym. They use certain types of gym um, types of machines. They use certain type of protein food. Sometimes they have running partners. It's a whole lifestyle. It's work for them. They have jobs, but they take the time to build up capacity for multiple levels, right? And some of them go internationally. So it's a whole big thing. And then we're not even talking about those big monster triathlon type things, type activities. We're not even talking about that because that takes even more. You're basically running every day. You are building your body and your capacity and pushing your body to the limits just to run a race, uh, a few races a year or something like that. Well, it's no different than anything that you're trying to do. If you're trying to get into a business, you need to know your capacity. Your capacity is going to be measured by your knowledge. Do you know accounting? Do you know tax laws? Do you know contracts? Do you know your industry, the specific tailoring to your client needs in that particular industry? That's why you need to do a health checkup, because some things you get into can kill you if you're not ready for it mentally, physically. You need a heart checkup. You need check your breathing. You know, check your ability to walk. Right. So knowing your capacity to operate at multiple levels should be something that you begin checking at your 5-year plan. The 5-year plan is useful for addressing any anxiety or doubt about who you are as a person, what you want to do, and what you want and can accomplish. Successes are intoxicating, but they also reveal anxiety about replicating success at the next level. Just because you accomplish a success does not necessarily translate as your capacity to resolve a single defining problem and achieve a solution that is universally acceptable. There is a difference between success and achievement. So we oftentimes measure whatever we're doing now by the successes in the past because we were able to accomplish something. We think that automatically translates into the new thing that we're doing. But each success has its own woes, has its own challenges, has its own influence, has its own threats. And so you can't treat one success over here like it is going to be a success over somewhere else, right? That means you got to think about the anxiety that you might feel. Can you keep this up? You know, going into the entertainment industry or going into the filmmaking industry, becoming an actor, actress, right? I think that's a very mind wrecking choice, because you may do great on one film, but can you replicate your ability for the next film? Because if you don't, you're like a one hit wonder, right? And so, studios and book publishers and any other types of related organizations, they need to be able to make money off of you consistently. That's why you have publishers who ask you, okay, when will you have your next book? And any book that you have needs to be translatable into some film or online web series or anything like that. It has to be convertible in a sense, right? That we can get not only books out of you, but we can turn them into an HBO series or a Hulu series or a Netflix original or something like that, because they need to be able to get money. Can you do that? That's something you can't look at your one book and say, okay, that's enough. No. If you want to be a screenwriter, if you want to write films, okay, and you get a production company who's interested in your work, they're going to consistently ask you, so how many other scripts have you written? I remember something that Spike Lee said in an interview, that these people today, they think that the one script is the only thing they need, but organizations, studios, production companies are looking for more. You should have more scripts, because you need a portfolio. You need a portfolio. You need something that tells them that that you are serious about this. So successes are intoxicating. Before you even approach the industry, any industry, especially if you want to write or act or something like that, you need to build a body of work. I don't know how long that work needs to be, but it needs to be a body of work. Like if a person wants to be an artist, they don't just draw one painting. They need a collection, because if a museum is ever interested in showcasing their work, they're going to need a ready collection, or be ready, or have something. Like, I love that show. It's about the clothes. I forget, but it's a sewing competition, and it's by that model lady. I forget her name. That when they are showcasing their work at the end of the season, they're not showcasing two pieces. You learn how to create a piece by, say, like instruction. Here's what you're going to create for the week. But by the end, you should have built your capacity to actually showcase a whole collection. And it has to be very distinct enough, but cohesive. Each piece has to be distinct, but the whole collection has to be cohesive. And so now, if you win the competition, can you replicate that skill at the next level? That's why, while no one knows your name, no one knows who you are, that's the time to practice building a collection, right? And then, of course, there's a difference between success and achievement. Success is momentary. It is little things that you do, and then you get some kind of mark for it. You get a hand clap. It's a success, right? Achievement is something that would take you a long time to accomplish. So you have this single definable problem that you want to accomplish. Say, for instance, you want to resolve the crisis in Syria, right? The humanitarian crisis in Syria. And now it has become crises, so it's more than one. Well, that's not something that's going to be resolved in a year, not even 5 years. That's going to take 10, 15, 20, almost our lifetime to resolve. Your part might be 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and then you solve a part of that crisis, and that's achievement. So success is something that you can accomplish. If you take a course, you endure the course, you complete the course, and you get a grade, that's success. But if your field requires you to take multiple degrees, like becoming a doctor, um, that may have a form of achievement in it. But once you get into your specialty, the achievement is a problem that you solve, that takes a long time to solve. The 5-year plan must include research before transitioning to the next level. This requires assessing where you are in your career, researching where you want to go with your career, and planning the process based on the expectations of the career/industry. This requires assessing where you are in your finances, researching where you want to go with your finances, and planning the process based on the expectations of your financial capacity. This requires assessing where you are in your education, researching where you want to go with your education, and planning the process based on the expectations of your career plan. So they're all sort of intermingled. And financial capacity is the thing that sort of links everything. It's hard to make the moves that you want to make if you don't have the financial capacity. It's hard to increase your knowledge by maybe getting another degree if you don't have the financial capacity. It may be hard to move up the career ladder if you're not paid more, which might not increase your financial capacity. But the 5-year part of your planning and your self-assessing will help you to be able to gauge where you are. The 5-year plan must include journaling your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. At 5 years, what is your current strength? How have you developed your strength? What is your weakness? How have you resolved your weaknesses? What is your opportunity? How have you used your opportunities? And then what is your threat? How have you hedged against threats? So you should have collected strengths by 5 years. There should be like a major strength that you continue to hone and develop, but then you begin to increase your capacity in terms of strengths, right? It depends, if you are, say for instance, you want to major in math and you become a tutor, okay? Well, one of your strengths is that you know how to write out the math problem just, like the snap of a finger. But as you increase your capacity by taking courses, right, you realize you pick up another strength. And the next strength is you being able to teach math to somebody. Not necessarily as an official teacher, but you become a tutor or something like in a math lab, and you have to deal with, different students who need help with understanding math. And so now you are picking up an additional strength to teach math to somebody. So now you have a collection of strengths, right? And so just begin to continue to assess that. Your weakness, so you realize your weakness might have been at planning. You're not good at scheduling, or you don't get somewhere on time, right? So then you talk to a counselor about it. You got some help. You read some books, and you began to tackle one weakness at a time. And so you resolved one of your weaknesses about not getting to places on time by leaving early enough so that you can be there on time, right? Versus you getting to the car and the interview is at 1:00 and you arrived in the parking lot at 1:00. Then your opportunity, you realize that the people around you may be opportunities for you to glean from, right? You have a sister or a friend who tends to be better at the thing that you are struggling with, or you had a professor that you asked a question and he sort of gave you a good understanding about it, so you use that as an opportunity to increase your understanding, right? So opportunities, opportunities is really all about learning and adding to your knowledge base. That's what I feel, that there's always an opportunity to learn, learn in order to increase, in order to resolve any sort of issues that I have. Then your threat, again, is always you. So if you feel like you don't need to assess your strength or your weaknesses or your opportunities, then that's a threat, because eventually you're going to have to do that as you move up the next levels. So let's look at each of the, let's look at the acronym. So 5-year plan strength. The 5-year plan must include journaling your strengths. So assessment of strengths might include reviewing and critically thinking about how well you do something. For example, if you are great at writing and you want to do something with your writing, then you should have a portfolio of writing. You never wait until you make it to begin writing. You should always write until your transition comes. A strength might be how well you communicate, plan. Continue to develop that skill. Weakness. So the 5-year plan must include journaling your weaknesses. So assessment of weaknesses might include reviewing and critically thinking about your struggles. For example, where are you overextended financially? Being overextended financially will affect other areas in your life, both professionally and personally. Develop a plan to address overextension. And this is where we are usually overextended in finances, and it likely is because you are giving your money to somebody who really doesn't need it, who keeps saying he or she needs the money, but they won't go and get a job or something like that. So that might actually be a struggle for you. The 5-year plan must include journaling your opportunities. So assessment of opportunities might include reviewing your options. For example, what are your career or education or small business options? Understanding your options and the timeline with which to consider and implement them will affect all areas in your life, both professionally and personally. Develop a plan to address opportunities, specifically when they are good or untimely. So one of those opportunities a lot of times comes at you when you have a friend who says, okay, let's go over here and let's go visit this organization because they're giving a free class. It may be a schedule that is not working with your current schedule, and it may be inconvenient, but it's also free. Now you don't always need to go to everything that is free, because it might be a time waster. But if it's something connected to something that you're doing and you're struggling, say for instance, you're struggling with character development in your novel, right? And the class just so happens to be a class on how to build better character in your novel. Okay, that's a class to go to. They may have free resources. You get to talk to somebody there, gain some insight. That is an opportunity. So you have to weigh every opportunity to determine if it is a true opportunity or if it's just an option. You may be able to get that same opportunity on your college campus, at your job, or just by simply researching on the internet as well. Threats. So the 5-year plan must include journaling your threats. Assessment of threats might include contemplating your internal beliefs. For example, you are always your own worst enemy. Vacillating between decisions, attitudes, and beliefs will always affect every area of your life, both professionally and personally. Develop a plan to address your own beliefs about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. And, that last one is very interesting, because happiness means different things to different people. Happiness for some people might be sound finances, that I feel happy when I have money. I don't have to have $1 million, but I do need to have some kind of money. I don't want to be broke, right? But some people don't care too much. Some people actually want a lot of money. They want $1 million because it gives them the type of freedom that they don't necessarily have to work on a job, but they can work when they want to work, right? Life and love, it depends, what does love mean to you? What does love mean to the other person? Have the conversation. I've always said in all of my audios that we don't have conversation anymore. We just jump to the sex. And then your beliefs about life. What are your core values? What's your own personal mission statement? That's important. Knowledge check. So 5-year plan, considering your academic, professional, and personal goals, especially in pursuit of financial stability. Answer the following. What are your 5-year planning strengths? What are your 5-year planning weaknesses? What are your 5-year planning opportunities? What are your 5-year planning threats? So the most important thing about your 5-year plan, I think it always has something to do with academic and professional, what you want to do with yourself in terms of your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But I kind of want to think about your personal goals, because what you do in your personal life affects your academic and professional. So where are you, if you're struggling and you are overextended financially, what are your strengths there first? Meaning, in order for somebody to come and ask you, in order for you to be overextended financially, that means you must have the finances. So people keep asking you because they know they can rely on you. So then the strengths will be that you always have money, right? That you have learned by 5 years now to make sure to have money. The weakness might be still the overextension, and that the weakness might also be you run your mouth. You tell all your business. Why is it that everyone is coming to you for money? Why can't they go and just go get a job and handle the situation themselves? So you're teaching people how to use you, for one. You're teaching people how to be dependent, for two. You're teaching people how to basically use you as a mule. So use you to fund their lifestyle, right? So that overextension has a lot of implications. The opportunity could be to challenge the person with the goal of them not coming to you with money. So one of the opportunities could be, and I had to learn this myself because I was overextended. I always ran my mouth. I always volunteered my money. So then I prayed about it because I was tired, and God gave me this sort of answers to the problem. Tell the person who's asking you for that money that this is a bill money. It can be a bill money or something like that, and that you're going to need it back when the bill comes. And if you give them sort of like a target, if you give them a guideline, a deadline, or a responsibility to return it, they might think twice about asking you for it. If they play games and say they don't have it, but they come over your house with some new sneakers and a new hairstyle, that's telling. That's more than enough to tell you, okay, I'm going to have to cut back on what I do for this person, because they're not taking it seriously and they're asking me for something that they don't really need, right? So the opportunity is always to is one of those teachable moments, that our parents usually do with us. A teachable moment. Create a teachable moment. Maybe make it a lesson. So for instance, you need $150 from me, and you could say, well, you're gonna have to pay it back in increments of, I don't know, 2 increments or 3 increments or 5, right? I'm gonna put you on a payment plan, and then we're gonna talk about also, finances. So here's like a little handout or something like that. But there's you engaging. It might sound kind of weird to the person, and you might think it might be a little useless, but if you do that, you might end up creating something that could turn into a book, that could turn into an online learning school or something like that. So there's opportunity to learn and teach as well. And then the threat in terms of you being overextended financially, eventually you're not going to have what you need to take care of yourself if you continue to cover other people. One of these days, you're going to give over your rent not knowing that you're giving over your rent. Or you could give over your rent and lose your job the same day you gave over your rent. You know? So, again, you are always your own threat.